Tonight we're going to be reading out of Luke 9:23 through 25. You can go ahead and put the PowerPoint up there so they can read along. It says this. It says, "Then he said to them all," this is Jesus speaking, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will save it. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit his very self? If anyone is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when he comes in his glory and in the glory of the Father and of the holy angels." I went to 26. But that's the verse. Tonight, that's what we're talking about, that God has called us to lay down our lives. He says that if we try and keep our lives, that we'll lose it, but if we lay down our lives, we'll gain it. And then when we lay it down for him, it's going to bring him glory. And so tonight, I have a friend that's going to be coming up in just a minute to tell us a little bit about his life. But recently, he's been through some pretty huge changes in his life and the way that he lives and in just the outlook on his future. And I asked him if he would come tonight to share with you a little bit about himself because his life and the way he's living it right now has kind of redefined for me this verse and what it means. And so I want you to go ahead and check this video out, and then Sean's going to come up and share with us.
Rare disease called Fredricks Ataxia, or FA. Right now, it affects energy, coordination, and balance.
Most FA patients, when they walk, look like they're just totally wasted.
And just like alcohol, FA can cause slurred speech.
And it gets worse as the day gets longer.
But over time, the degenerative nerve disease will eventually force him into a wheelchair. Sean was diagnosed just 10 months ago.
It was difficult at first, but at the same time, I don't let this disease rule my life or dictate how I live.
Sean's staying active. FA will rob him of his physical strength, but his spirit and determination only get stronger.
It's motivated me to get out there and to do things that challenge my body and, of course, keep me strong.
Late last month, Sean joined a caravan of bicyclists, cycling from Sacramento all the way to Las Vegas, a 648-mile journey over 13 days to raise awareness and money for FA.
No matter what it takes, I'm going to find a way to still enjoy life as long as I can.
And now, the torch run. Sean's hoping to inspire young people with FA, and in the process, he's inspiring everyone around him.
Any physical limitations, let's push them. Let's push the envelope.
Wow. You guys are real special. Thanks. Sometimes like the guy said, it's only been 10 months, when now it's been 11. It was last May. Diagnosed with Fredricks Ataxia. Let me first tell you a little bit about FA. It's a debilitating degenerative disease, which basically just means I was born with this disease. My parents don't have it. It's inside them, but they're not affected by this double recessive gene that connected and went inside me and now is causing its damage. Anyway, this disease will cause progressive damage to my body, and it progresses at a rate that we can't define. Sometimes it'll progress real slow, and other seasons it'll pick up and progress fast. It's different in every FA patient, and there's about 10,000 of us in America. And I don't know if you realize the significance of the 10,000. That's a very small number. That's not a lot of people. So it's a rare disease. So anyway, 11 months ago, I was diagnosed with this disease, and at first I just didn't grasp it. I went into the doctor's office after 2 months of all kinds of blood tests, and the geneticist sat me down and started to explain this disease, and I couldn't pronounce it. For the longest time, I was like, yeah, whatever. And over the course of about 60 minutes, he kind of explained to me what this disease is doing to my body. And it really wasn't until the very end that I really started to realize this is a serious problem. He began to tell me, I just wasn't getting the science of it. He was explaining to me, DNA and molecules and mom and dad and what none of my business. And so it was like I just wasn't understanding. And then finally, I just said, you know what? what's the end result? You know, what are some of my worst case scenarios? And he said, you know, that really depends on how you look at it. He goes, in my opinion, there's probably two. A really bad worst case and then a really worst case. And he said, you know, the really bad worst case is that eventually it'll put you in a wheelchair and you won't have use of your legs. I was like, okay. He said the worst case is that heart disease will set in and it'll take your life at a very young age. And I said, okay. And I was like, you want to go get some drinks with me? That's not what I said. Seriously. You guys. Okay, so anyway. I walked out of the doctor's office. And I, you know, it was 3 or 4 stories up. And I took the elevator up to get there. But when I was leaving, I got to the elevator shaft. And I saw the stairs, you know, across the hallway. It's always that way. And it just kind of hit me. You know, there's a day is most likely going to come where I won't have the ability to use the stairs. So I said, okay, for now, I'm going to go ahead and use the stairs because I can. So I walked down the excruciating 3 flights of stairs. And over the next several weeks, it just started to set it in on me, what's going on, and I started to kind of understand. And you know, the more you read about these kinds of things, and the more you talk about it with friends and family, it takes a little bit of time. But the more you do it, the more it really sets into a really harsh reality. And over a period of a few weeks, I started to realize, man, this isn't a joke. There is something inside me that's destroying my nervous system that's basically going to eat away at my spine and maybe cause scoliosis to set in. It's going to eat away at the muscles in my legs, and it's going to take over my legs, and I'm not going to be able to walk. And it's going to take over the same muscles in my arms, and I'm not going to be able to use my arms like I can right now and flail them around like a weird person. And it's also going to cause heart disease to set in, maybe, and that heart disease is probably going to kill me, maybe. And then it's going to slur my speech. It's going to impair my speech. And before it puts me in a wheelchair, it's going to rob me of my my ability to walk straight. If you look at me long enough, if you just watch me, you'll see that I can't really walk straight. And if you decide to walk a distance next to me, chances are I'm going to bump into you about half a dozen times if it's a short distance. So if you watch me long enough, you kind of think, man, something's not right. And to me, it's kind of funny. And to others, it's really funny, too. And I'm okay with the joke. So if you want to give me some jokes tonight, that's fine. You can do that. I can handle it. So, anyway, one day, I went climbing up a mountain. I went with some friends. This was about 8 weeks after I was diagnosed, and I was climbing this mountain with a friend. And there was 3 of us. Pastor Jason Harper, you might know him, and Russell Breton, you might know him as well. We're climbing up Flagpole Peak, which is somewhere between here and Tahoe. And we get to one part where it's about 30 minutes into the hike, and there's one part where you can jump down about this distance. And you jump down a little 4x4 foot little area and take a picture of the lake that we were looking at. And Russell, you know, if you know Russell, he's just a jittery guy that jumps all over the place and has no fear. And he just kind of jumps over there and almost falls off and is taking the pictures. And I'm like, I don't have balance when I'm standing still, much less if I jump. So it hit me like a 200-ton freight train that day. There is something inside me that's keeping me from being able to do what a lot of other people can do. And that scares me because I know that it's only going to get worse. And so I sat there, and it was very emotional for me. I kind of started to break down, and I started to cry, and it was very surreal. And at that moment, I realized that I was doing a whole lot more than just climbing a mountain that day. I was climbing 2. There was a metaphoric mountain that somehow just entered my life. Wasn't something that I asked for, woke up and volunteered for, but it was something that it was a speed bump in my road, and I've got to figure out a way to get over it. And it's at that moment that I really felt like God was saying, you know what? I don't like it, and I know you don't, but what are we going to do with it?